Well, are interest rates about to go much higher? Today we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for Prudent Money. Good afternoon and welcome to the Prudent Money Radio Show. I'm your host, Bob Brooks. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. Well, if you got a question for me, please go to the website at www.prudentmoney.com. Send a question in and I will get it taken care of for you. There's a Q&A at the top of the website. You can just go click through and there you will see it. And questions and or comments, always welcome them and always make time for them. So make sure that you do that. That's all at the website, www.prudentmoney.com. I got an observation for you. And having been in the financial advisor business for over 30 years, actually just had a anniversary yesterday, which makes it 31 years. Feel very blessed to have gotten the opportunity to do this and work with so many people. Observation is that, of course, things just really start to slow down during the summer. And for a lot of people, they want to take advantage of that. They don't want to add work. They want to take it slow and easy. Take advantage of this time where things have slowed down and do an inventory of where you're at financially. I mean, this is a great time to look at, okay, this is the first half of the year. What does the second half of the year bring? And get a good grip on where your assets are, what your risk level is, all the things we talk about. What a great opportunity to do that and go through the process. And most importantly, and actually what I'm seeing the most observation-wise, is people changing a lot of their estate planning up. Now, estate planning, when you hear that word, a lot of times people think, oh, that's only for the really wealthy people. Estate planning applies to everyone because at some point in your life will end and what you owned will have to be transferred to somebody else, to a beneficiary, to a spouse, kids, whatever. And I'm seeing a lot of people really take a good hard look for the first reason because it's been maybe a long time since that they've taken a will out or established a trust, whatever the case may be. And they're taking a hard look at what the actual document says. Maybe they haven't looked at it in 10, 15, 20 years. Well, I assure you that things have changed in 10, 15, 20 years that you might need to get that document redone. But most importantly, I think they're taking a look at the beneficiaries, especially more complicated ones that, well, I'll give you an easy one to a complicated one. Start with the complicated one. Probably the most complicated is when there is a second marriage, second set of kids, and making sure everybody gets along. Death and money can bring out the worst in people. I've seen it too many times. But, things change between relationships since that you might have put that trust together. And I see a lot of people reevaluating that. That's first thing. Second thing, on the easy side, maybe you set that trust up to take care of your kids and your kids were young. But now they're in their late 20s, maybe their early 30s, and you don't have the same concerns. You would actually let them take over the management of the assets if something were to happen to you. Make sure you make those changes. Make sure that the person that you put on your trust or put executor of your will is still the right person. People change over time. Relationships change. So make sure that you've got the right people in line to take care of things. And right now, in the slow days of summer, makes it even better time to do so. If you got any questions about any of that, you know where to go, to Q&A at prudentmoney.com. send it in, and I will give you some resources. That's all at the website, prudentmoney.com. Well, is inflation a problem or is it not a problem? And everybody looks to one person, the Federal Reserve Board Chairman Jerome Powell, because he heads up the group, the Federal Open Market Committee, or the Federal Reserve Board, that decides and announces where they think interest rates should be. So they've got their one interest rate, the federal funds rate. They move it up, they move it down, and then all the other interest rates that control your mortgages, your cars, the bond market, all typically follow that movement up and down. Well, if they want to fight inflation, they increase the federal funds rate, increase interest rates, and they have been doing so. And I believe that the federal funds rate's a little over 5%. And of course, that is why your money markets, not at your banks mostly, but mainly at your big brokerage houses, are paying so much interest because they have raised interest rates over the past year to year and a half. But this last time that Jerome Powell addressed Wall Street, addressed the country about not raising rates, which is what they didn't do last time. They didn't take any action at their last meeting. He made it sound, or implied, and that's really what we have to go by, is, well, what are they implying? And a little bit of that's guesswork, but the opinion of Wall Street was that the worst is behind us. Inflation is in check. In fact, it could be that they won't even raise interest rates again. Market took off. Everybody was happy with that. A little bit better than expected. And then he comes out on Wednesday after talking to Congress, says that, hey, U.S. inflation is well above where we think it should be. More interest rates are likely this year. And did not shed any new light on timing of the moves, or, of course, is it going to be 0.25% or 50% or half a percent, and what that will do to the market. Now, here's what is so very peculiar about the two sides of Jerome Powell. I mean, make up your mind. Yesterday's announcement and the Federal Reserve Board's announcement, I think, are separated by 3, maybe 4 weeks. Nothing has changed, really, except for we've gotten the inflation data, and it continues to show improvement. Of course, these are unrealistic numbers that I don't think really are accurate. We can beat the dead horse, but talk about food prices and there's some areas that are coming down. But if you look at their data says things are getting better and improving. Well, if that's the case, why take on a little bit of a sterner approach, a more serious approach towards inflation in the words that you use, Federal Reserve Chair Powell? Because now he's got the markets thinking, they're going to get aggressive again, and kind of throwing that confusion into the marketplace. So that's what's going on. That's an interesting, I don't know that I saw that coming, and we'll see how that kind of an effect that has on the market. But if the inflation rate is improving, so they say, then why is there reason to talk about further interest rates and talking in a manner of concern? So, of course, he was vague on the timing. It looks like Wall Street is saying that it's going to be this year. I would suspect it's going to be this year. They've got at least 5, maybe 6 meetings to go for the year, so they probably will raise interest rates. Maybe they should have done it last time. That would have been more of expected and probably not affected the market that much. Now the market's going to be on little pins and needles as we wait the next interest rate hike. Definitely not a decrease. In fact, there was people talking about the Federal Reserve Board might even decrease interest rates. I think, just sidebar, the Federal Reserve Board lowering interest rates at this point would be the most irresponsible move that could possibly be. Totally irresponsible. It would ignite a huge investment bubble. It would ignite the real estate. Think of the real estate markets as a smoldering fire, still kind of lit, still smoking. It would be like throwing gas on that smoldering fire. So I don't know who suggested that they cut rates, but anyway. So it brings up the question mark of the one thing that this truly affects, and that is the economy, and will they create a recession? Now, the recession talk is just completely out of control. And I want to talk a little bit to that, what Wall Street thinks, what Jerome Powell thinks, and we'll get to what may be really going on. This is Bob Brooks. We are up against a break. Stick around. I'll be right back.
The Word for Today is excited to announce the new official online home for the ministry of Pastor Chuck Smith and Kay Smith, pastorchuck.org. At pastorchuck.org, you'll have instant access to thousands of hours of verse-by-verse teaching by Pastor Chuck Smith from Genesis through Revelation, and full access to special messages on subjects such as prophecy and much, much more. Also at pastorchuck.org, a full library of great teachings by Kay Smith, and a section where you can read some of Pastor Chuck's books online, all free of charge. So visit the new official online home of the Word for Today and the ministry of Pastor Chuck and Kay Smith, pastorchuck.org.
Hi, this is Bob Brooks. What is the single most important verse on stewardship? Well, you can find that verse in 2 books, word for word, Matthew 6:24 and Luke 16:13. No one can serve 2 masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Wow, what a powerful statement. On the Prudent Money Radio Show, we talk stewardship and how to stay in a committed, surrendered stewardship relationship with God. Listen to the Prudent Money Radio Show weekdays at 3 p.m.
This is Rob Randall, your host and teacher of the Invisible War radio program. The Invisible War is the study of God's Word on how to walk in Christ's victory in the spiritual battles we face against the powers of darkness. Join me every Sunday morning at 9 right here on KDKR and KYJC in Commerce, your station for life.
Welcome back. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. If you've got a question for me, I wanted to invite you to go to the website, www.prudentmoney.com. Send it into the Q&A, and I will get you taken care of. That's all at the website, prudentmoney.com. All the talk last year was there's going to be a major recession in 2023. Now we're almost halfway through 2023, which is hard to believe. Isn't it? I mean, halfway through 2023. Get through one more week and we're there. Time is just flying by. But anyway, I digress. Everybody was talking about this recession. And we're talking, of course, Wall Street's talking about, even if we have one, it will be so very mild. Jerome Powell said today, if we raise rates or if we have a recession, it will have very little impact on employment. And well, everything's going to be butterflies and roses too, I guess. I don't know. I don't know that I could buy into that. If you look at, there's a one indicator that takes 10 economic indicators and rolls it up into one. And it's called the leading indicator. Fell for the 14th time in a row. It was announced today. Today was number 14, where it declined. No recession. So where is this recession we're supposed to be having? And why isn't it a concern? Nobody's really concerned about a recession at this point. After all, even if we have one, it's not going to be any big deal. Well, the problem is we get this continued rise in interest rates. Maybe that's I have no good reason or an opinion really for why, except for maybe there's some political reasons why, and they're doctoring up the numbers. Who knows, right? Who knows? But interest rates would definitely, an additional raise in interest rates would definitely work against the economy. You got to look at what it does to the consumer. I've said many times I think the consumer is tolerating higher prices, but there comes a point where they can tolerate no more, and that's the time to be concerned as its effect on the economy. Car loans continue to go up, and you're seeing car loans quickly coming down in price. Pre-owned cars are coming down in price. You're seeing new cars advertised with thousands of dollars off of MSRP. That's definitely a different scenario from last year. What's interesting to me, though, is mortgages are still above 7%. I think that's okay, even though 7% seems to be more of a psychological move. Maybe 8% is really the biggest psychological move. 7%, though, it seems to be tolerated, even though people are paying much higher payments for a 7. Think about it. Went up from 3.5% to a 7% plus. But it seems like that's not really slowed down the mortgage market. Plus, I do believe people are taking out mortgages with the thought and the notion that, hey, we'll be able to refinance at some point, which I actually believe that you will at some point. But I see everything pushed up against the edge, and right now we're about to get on a tightrope, and we're walking that tightrope, and everything is good as long as nobody disturbs the tightrope. That's my concern, is if we get someone that pushes us off of that tightrope. And that could be a number of issues that we could face. So that's kind of where I see where we are. I received an email from someone today, a friend of mine. And we often talk about markets and what's going on with the markets. And he wanted my opinion on something that was written by J.P. Morgan. Well, J.P. Morgan is a stock shop, brokerage house, and they only do well when stocks go up. So if I'm a money manager for JP Morgan, am I going to talk about the risks, or am I going to talk about the reasons to buy stocks, which are that everything's turning around and going upward in the right direction? Well, it's the latter. I mean, you can't turn on CNBC and watch during a down market and find anybody except for the token negative person they have in these talks where they've got 4 or 5 people around a desk talking about where the market's going to go. Everything is turning around. Everything is getting better. A buying opportunity. It's always a buying opportunity. So keep that in mind. When your bias is the only thing that you can do is buy stocks, then you're not going to have a very any negativity of anything relating to the markets. Okay, so let's talk a little bit. That's enough of that. Let's talk a little bit about a article that I wrote yesterday about Wells Fargo, and we're just picking on Wells Fargo because they're easy to pick on, but they actually have the credit card that I'm talking about. It sets you up and it looks great in the marketing. Very nicely done. 21 months of interest-free financing means I've got, say, a $20,000 note on a credit card, a balance, and I can open up a Wells Fargo account, credit card account, and I can transfer that 22% interest rate dollar amount, credit balance, debt balance to the Wells Fargo, and I can get 21 months for free. By the way, if you do read the fine print, they can change that without any notice. That's disturbing, I know. So 21 months, and then at the end of 21 months, they assess your risk at 18, and you get anywhere from 17 to 29%. Now, what is just so well, people don't, let me say it this way, what people don't understand is that this is a great opportunity for a bank to make a lot of money. Now, you could debate the ethics of this, whether it's necessarily ethical to put an opportunity out there for 21 months, and you could, and it could be a 50-50 debate. Hey, it's a way to make money. Banks are seeing opportunity. But you're also, the way that I look at credit card companies is that they set people up for a fall. And that's what, marketing is a trap. That's what I wrote about extensively in my book, Deceptive Money. And so Wells Fargo can look over the next 21 months and say that we bet, and we're making a bet on, that consumer scores, credit scores, will be lower, meaning we can charge higher rates when we lock it in. Because remember, in 21 months, they are going to look at your credit, and if it's gone down, or your score's gone down because a recession hit, maybe you lost your job, maybe the debt just got too much, maybe FICO came out with a new scoring model that everybody knows about, that's in the business. And that scoring model, if you applied most people who have big balances to that scoring model might drop your credit score by 20 or so points. That could have a detriment, could be a huge negative on the decision to give you much higher interest rates. So I think that, and it's just speculation on my part, obviously, but I just think, why not give people 21 months to sit there in zero interest? And by the way, it's not free. It's not zero interest. That's a little bit, if you look at the pricing, they're going to charge you 5%, which is a cost, which is included in fees, 5% to move that money over. So it's not interest-free. It's interest-free, but it's not fee-free. Let me put it to you that way. So what are the chances of FICO, it's called FICO 10, gaining popularity, or being used by Wells Fargo to justify why they're raising people to such high rates? I don't know. It's just, all I do know is that in all the research I did for my book that I wrote a while back, it came the fact that credit card companies you got to be careful about what you put your money into. And here's the catch-22. If your credit score goes down, you're looking at a higher rate because your declining credit score. You're looking at a higher rate that you can't move to another credit card because your rates are your credit scores are too low. So it's a horrible catch-22. Just something to keep in mind as you see the next new shiny thing in credit cards. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. If you got a question for me, please go to the website at prudentmoney.com and send it in because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time, keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.